Hello there, welcome to MarketSquare. My name is Oluwak Pelumi, and I'm glad you joined in tonight. Before us tonight are three headlines, but let's start with the inflation report for the month of May 2024 and get some perspective as to what it costs to get goods and services in the month of May 2024. Figures received from the National Bureau of Statistics has it that in the month of May 2024, inflation surged to about 33.95% from 33.69% in the month of April 2024. Now, if you work the math, you will notice an increase of about 0.26%, which makes a steady rise in the cost of living in Nigeria. I think on the show we have established that there is a standard of living and there's also the cost of living. The higher the cost of living, the lower the standard of living, and the lower the cost of living, the higher the standard of living. On a year-on-year inflation basis, it means comparing the figures for May 2023 and May 2024, the figures jumped by 11.54% from 22.41% in May 2023 to 33.95%. On a month-on-month basis, the headline inflation rate in May 2024 was 2.14%, which was around 0.15% lower than the rate recorded in April 2024. This means that in the month of May 2024, the rate of increase in the average price level is less than the rate of increase in the average price level in April 2024. If you want to talk about what are the things that contributed to the increase in the inflation rate for the month of May 2024, you can talk about the cost of getting food and non-alcoholic beverages that contributed around 17.59%. You can talk about housing as well. If you stay in Lagos, for instance, you know how much it takes, how much it will cost you to get an apartment. I mean, before the show today, I was speaking with somebody who just got an apartment, all right? Our apartment in a place not so far from Lagos, yeah? If you are in Otta, you are still in Lagos. If you are in Ogun State, you are still in Lagos, yeah? And it was quite a lot of money. And you could imagine what it would cost to get a self-contained or a two-bedroom apartment in Lagos at this time. I think last time I checked, it was around 350K to get two-bedroom flat in Lagos, around the Bajuleke area there. Also, getting water has been quite not easy for many people. Understanding as well that we live in a time when maybe I should just say this here, that please be safe, stay safe, right? There's cholera, the rate of victims of cholera has increased over time. Now, I hear that Lagos State has over 10 cases already, and more cases are being unveiled by the day. So pretty much getting good water to drink now is now something that has to be done, and it's costing quite some money. Many years ago, you could get a sachet of water for 5 naira. I don't know if you know that. Some of you are watching this right now, you are Gen Zs, yeah? 5 naira, right? 5 naira, you could get 10 naira. But now it's way, way expensive than it used to be. And then should we talk about electricity? We know that the government is still on the idea that it wants to remove the subsidy on electricity. And at the moment, some people are paying so much money to get little power rendered to them, yeah? So that has been quite expensive. You also have gas and other few products there that have contributed around 5.68%. And also you have clothing and foodware contributing about 2.60%. Accumulate. If you accumulate all of that together, you will arrive at the figure gotten by the National Bureau of Statistics as published for the month of May 2024. Now let's talk about the food inflation. The food inflation in May 2024, Nigeria's food inflation rate reached 40.66% on a year-on-year basis, which is a significant increase from 24.82% recorded in May 2023. Now, Paul will put up an image that shows that even in more clear details, because on a month-on-month basis, it is also higher than the 40.53% recorded in April 2024. And this sharp rise in food price has been attributed to a range of factors affecting food categories. In fact, I get the president released a report and made a statement some days back as to the fact that he said that the reason we have increase in the cost of getting food is because of our bad roads. I don't know if you saw that on Punch there, because of our bad roads there. Some of the items have increased in price. You have semovita. Now I'm on my system right now trying to check out the cost of getting 10 kg of semolina on Konga. If I were to order for a 10 kg of semolina on Konga now, it will cost you around 19,500 naira to get a 10 kg of Mama Gold semolina. If you also check for pure primal semolina, same thing, 10 kg, it's sold for 19,800 naira there. And then if you check for Honeywell, many of you know Honeywell, 10 kg would cost around 20,000 naira. If you also check for Honeywell, a semolina 1 kg times 10 or so, you would get that for 45,000 naira. These are details, price details gotten from Konga. I just checked for that right now. And so the price of getting semolina has increased. Oat flakes has also increased. Gari has also increased in prices. In fact, yam flour, thank God for yam flour. I'll get to that. Yam flour, you have beans as well as raisin. In fact, last time I checked, the cost of getting beans is even more than getting rice. Do I have a weakness out there? The cost of getting beans has even exceeded the cost of getting rice, right? And then Irish potato has also increased. And now I'm there. Yam, for instance, now, thank God for their bookies, right? That selling at different points on our street. You have them, cut it into pieces, and then you want to buy one. You want to buy maybe 500 naira, and they will sell it for you with a lot in your nylon there. Thank God for that, because without them, most likely, we will not be, many persons will today not have tasted yam in about 6 months, because it's way expensive to get yam now. Way expensive to get yam out now. You also have water yam. Palm oil has also increased in price. Vegetable oil has also increased. Stockfish has also increased. Mudfish has increased. Crayfish has increased. Beef head has increased in price. Chicken life has increased in price. In fact, to get chicken lap right now will cost you quite some money, right? If you visited the market recently, you will know what I'm talking about. So we can already say that on a month-on-month basis, food inflation in the month of May 2024 recorded a 2.28%, which is a decrease from the 2.50% recorded in April 2024. I guess things are pretty much getting better in the aspect of food, but it could go lower than it is at the moment. Now let's talk about core inflation. Looking at the figures for core inflation, which excludes the price of volatile agricultural produce and energy, it moved from 26.84% in April 2024 to 27.04% in May 2024. Now the reason for this increase is connected to the increase in rent, passenger transport, and cost of medical services. Because the more you have rents increase, the more you have your ability to move from one point to another point increase, the more the cost of medical services increase. You can already tell that the core side of the economy will be affected by these tweaks there. And then let's talk about the urban inflation. Now, Paul will put up an image of urban inflation there. And urban inflation in Nigeria talks about the rise in the price of goods and services, specifically in urban areas like Lagos, like Port Harcourt, like Abuja. Somebody just said Ilorin. I didn't mention Ilorin there. The top places in Nigeria as touching urbanization, I guess. You have Lagos, you have Onitsha most likely, you have Port Harcourt, and you have Abuja there. Now, if you have on the screen right now the image for the urban inflation figures there. Urban inflation figures there. The figure stood at 36.34% in May 2024. All right, 36.34% in May 2024 from 36.00% in April 2024. Now, still on the urban inflation figures there, it indicates a sustained rise in the cost of living where in urban areas over the past year. I think it was about 10 or 15 years ago, where the governor of Lagos State at the time, Governor Babatunde Raji Fashola, announced that if you cannot stay in Lagos, you could come to the state office there. You get T-fare to go back to where you came from. I think at that time it was around 3K or 30,000 naira. You get to the state house and then you take transport to where you came from. Now, living in Lagos, Port Harcourt, in Abia, Onitsha, in Abuja would cost you quite some money. And all of these have contributed to the increase in the inflation rate we have seen so far. So good. Now, Kwalumi, is it good to see that the inflation rate is increasing? Well, there are not so many countries that don't have the inflation rate increase. In fact, I learned as well during my morning brief that the figures for the inflation rate in United Kingdom just reduced to a very good extent after a long period of time. Yeah, just reduced to a very good extent after a long period of time. So there are countries in the world today that have inflation rate increase. But my own issue, and the issue of, I guess, every economist out there, is the rate at which the figure increases. If it increases on an hyper level, hyper is increasing on a level that is not, you can't really trace, then there's an issue. If it creeps, all right, there's still, you can still trap that. Just like a child that is crawling, you can still hold the child and figure out where he went to. But if it's somebody who can run, you may not be able to define where that person has gone to. So we have the inflation rate increasing at the moment, but I tell you, things are beginning to come into shape so far. Talking about the rural inflation now. Rural inflation now, in the month of May 2024, was at 31.82%. You see that on the screen displayed by Paul, 31.82% from 31.64% in April 2024. You see that on the screen right now. Now, this increase highlights the significant impact of the rising prices in rural communities in Nigeria, where a larger proportion of the population is engaged in agriculture and other low income there. I want to stay on this a little. Now, we can see that the figure in the month of May was about 31.64%, and then you check for the figures in the month of April was on 31.64%. The month of May stood at 31.82%. Now, that's pretty much a small change there. Yeah, pretty much a small change there. And if this is happening in an environment where the agricultural products, because they're close to the farm, yeah, they can farm. So we can't really say that they were affected by food inflation in any way, because they don't really need to take it to the city. They go to their farm, get the product, take it in. But we could also talk about why these communities still have their inflation rates on a higher level. Okay, pretty small, but it's something that is worth thinking about. And you could talk about access to water, for instance. I know that in some part of Nigeria, you need to buy water. You need to buy water to bathe. Yeah, so some people buy sachet water, one bag, to bathe themselves in some areas in Nigeria. So that speaks about what's happening in our low income communities. Let's compare the figures. Let's compare the figures, Paul. Compare the figures and talk about the states that in the month of May had inflation on a high level there. Right, so you have on the screen there, on a year-on-year basis, Bauchi, Kogi, or on a year-on-year basis, talking about inflation rate in inflation figures in the month of May 2024. Also talking about consumer price index there. Speaking about the fact that if you're going to look at all items, food, non-alcoholic beverages, and everything we have mentioned on the show today, in the month of May, the people staying in Bauchi, how did you guys survive? How did you survive there? All right. And the next Bauchi is Kogi. Next to Kogi is Oyo. Now, talking about the slowest rise, this is year on year. To say that May 2023, comparing that to May 2024. Now, if you do that as well, you find out that lowest rise, you have Borno, you have Benue, and you have Delta. Now, let's talk about the month on month. Now, the month on month, comparing the inflation figures on a month-on-month basis, okay? So on a month-on-month basis, you have Kano. Now that's like saying April versus May, okay? So Kano, a lot of persons in Kano, how did you survive, right? Because the price of getting foodstuff was on the high side in Kano. Also in Gombe, you have 4.06%. In Bauchi, you have 3.75%. That place must be the costliest place to stay now in Nigeria. And they're talking about on a month-on-month basis as well. Ondo people, you guys are enjoying yourselves, 0.57%. Kwara State, you have 1.19%. Yobe, you have 1.24% there. All right. Now, if you are a DSTV and Go TV subscriber, there is a chance that you will be rewarded with a month free subscription. Yeah? Do you know that already? I tell you, absolutely. But before we go into some details on that, let's do the numbers. Welcome to the numbers session. Activities resumed yesterday in the stock exchange market, and like you know already, Monday and Tuesday were public holidays. Yeah. So the all-share index declined by 0.08% to close at 99,840.95 points from a gain of 0.09% registered on Friday before the holidays. Now, as such, investors lost about 47.62 billion naira as the market capitalization fell to 56.48 trillion naira, and year-to-date returns stood at 33.52%. The total volume traded advanced by 334.92% to close at 1.38 billion naira, valued at 16.48 billion naira, and traded in 9,899 deals. Fidelity Bank was the most traded stock by volume and value with 1.05 billion naira units and 11.32 billion naira respectively. Now, on the foreign exchange market, the NatFest rate depreciated by 0.56% from 1,471.42 naira per dollar to 1,479.76 naira per dollar. And the BUD change rate also appreciated by 0.20% from 1,473 naira per dollar to 1,470 naira per dollar. MultiChoice, the operator of DSTV and Go TV, reported a loss of 4.1 billion rand. That's the currency used in South Africa. An equivalent of $225.8 million at the current exchange rate in Nigeria in late March 2024. Now, on the 24th of April 2024, the MultiChoice Group announced new price adjustment on DSTV and Go TV packages from 25% to 26% across multi-choice packages. And if you use DSTV or Go TV, you know this already. Those of us who watch ball in our ball houses, we notice how that the price of seeing the football match increased in that time. I think it was around the time when the English Premier League was ending, and we felt that as customers of these places. Many other companies that increase the price of their products or services, the MultiChoice Group blamed Nigeria's harsh economic condition as the active reason for which DSTV subscribers in the country declined by 18%. 18% is a lot. 18% is a lot for a business like that. Now, clearly stated in the financial report for the year that ended in March 31st, 2024, it said the decline in Nigeria affected its overall subscriber database, leading to a 9% decline for the year. And if you're going to ask why do you have more persons who have chosen not to resubscribe, okay? Why do you have more persons who have chosen not to resubscribe and continue using their DSTV and Go TV? And some of the reasons that we could talk about is we talk about the removal of fuel subsidies. People are still feeling the pain of that already, although it was done last year. It was announced last year, 2023, but people are still feeling the pain at this time. And then you can go on and on to talk about the fact that we have poor internet, poor power supply in the country at the moment, sharp currency depreciation, the fact as well that inflation is rising and climbing to about 30%, and you have more people emigrating from Nigeria. So the fact is, what kind of household can use DSTV and Go TV? I doubt if a family that cannot afford 3 square meals a day will be using Go TV or DSTV, all right? I doubt the family that cannot afford to even do two meals a day can afford to use DSTV or Go TV. The people who can actually even pay for that are the ones living in the country, going to Canada, going to UK, going to USA. And so it's understandable why you could see a decline in the figures of subscribers for people using DSTV and Go TV. And they know that Nigeria is their biggest market. Nigeria is their biggest market. You find out that as some manufacturers are leaving Nigeria, some are coming back. Just some days ago, Toleram bought shares at Guinness. You saw that, didn't you? Yes, bought shares at Guinness. And, as much as you have more persons leaving, more persons are coming. In fact, Toleram is an Indian company that has been in Nigeria for over 50 years. So they are in Nigeria enjoying themselves, taking ownership. While we are complaining and leaving the country, these guys are enjoying themselves. In fact, I'll give you this one. So somebody was about to leave the country. And then it was about leaving the country. He had packed his bag. Like, I'm going. And then he got to the airport. And as he was about to board this plane, he saw white people descend from a plane and were giving God thanks for coming to Nigeria. That's amazing. It's amazing how it is. It's amazing how that worked. I just started thinking about it before the show. I thought I was going to tell you about it. So the DSTV issue, last year, GoTV, DSTV GoTV that is under the MultiChoice company, increased its price 3 times. Increased its price 3 times. The first was in April 2023, then another in November 2023, and then the third increment was announced in April 2024, and which was decided and planned to take effect and scheduled to take effect in May 2024, from the very first day in May 2024. Now, before the price took effect on the 1st of May 2024, a competition and consumer protection tribunal sitting in Abuja issued an order restraining MultiChoice Group from implementing the new price increase that they intended to increase, because a customer of theirs had filed a case for that. You could see that on the screen right now. You could see some of the headlines in the newspapers being published online on different sites being published there. You have it on the screen there. And then also you have it that, so they were told not to increase the price, to chill on that, because a customer had filed a case against DSTV. However, DSTV on its own ignored the court order and implemented the new prices, which prompted the tribunal to slam a fine of around 150 million naira on MultiChoice for challenging the jurisdiction of the court, and even ordered that DSTV GoTV, the MultiChoice company, should give Nigerian subscribers a month free subscription. So the MultiChoice Nigeria has even now at this time asked that the tribunal help adjust this, because it doesn't look fair on their part to see that they will be giving out some of their products for free for 1 full month. And you know what that will do to the Nigerian market? Now, according to reports, the company has lost over 1 million subscribers in Nigeria due to the price increase. Now, it is not clear if MultiChoice will also offer a month free subscription as ordered by the court. But I'm waiting to see how this will unfold in the coming days. In fact, on the screen, you would have the new prices. So immediately the MultiChoice company was asked not to give out a month free subscription to DSTV subscribers. You'll find out that just, I think, a day after that time, they published new prices. So you have DSTV packages on the screen right now. The DSTV Premium package, old prices, you have 37,000 naira, new price 29,500. DSTV Compact, you see the price change there. DSTV Confirm, you see the price change there. DSTV Younger, you see the price change there. DSTV Paddy, the same. GoTV packages, you have GoTV Super Plus, GoTV Super, GoTV Max, GoTV Jolly, GoTV Ginger. Now, these were published almost a day after they were asked to give out a month free subscription to subscribers. Now, how this will pan out, we do not know. But what I do know for sure is that we will not see DSTV leave this country, I tell you, because Nigeria represents their largest market. Even in South Africa, where they have their roots, they still. I read in the news as well that because of power outage, they've not made so much money even in South Africa. So I personally wait for what will unfold in the coming days with respect to this. Will the court insist that DSTV should give subscribers a month free subscription, or will the court insist that DSTV will pay a fine of 150 million naira? Now to our last story on the show today. The World Bank has approved a $2.25 billion loan for Nigeria to support economic reforms that have contributed to the uncomfortable cost of living crisis in the country. In the first episode of this show, the first part of the show, I spoke about the inflation report. Also mentioned to you that the higher the cost of living, the lower the standard of living, and the lower the cost of living, the higher the standard of living. They have this inverse relationship there. Now, if you recall that in one of the episodes of MarketSquare, I shared with you about the fact that the government had applied for this loan that we presently just received as far back as March, April 2024, and there was the anticipation that it will be released. It will be approved in June 2024. The Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, at the spring meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, had announced that the nation had qualified for processing a loan. Now, when you hear qualify, what does that mean to you? It means that many things have been checked. How much are you able to carve out? How much are you able to carve out in your economy? How much are you able to cough out? All right. Also saying that how much can you make as a country? What are your prospects as a country, right? What are your prospects as a country? Are you able to pay back the amount you're asking for? Because it's surprising. It's not surprising for me that the World Bank has approved this loan for Nigeria. Because some weeks ago, I think it was in April, I also mentioned on Morning Brief that the World Bank had altered its sponsoring of project in Tanzania. Yeah, World Bank altered its supply of funds for a project in Tanzania. The loan package approved by the board of directors of the World Bank offers a 40-year term, meaning that Nigeria can pay back the loan in 40 years. You spread the payment in 40 years. I'm just imagining if I have to add 40 years to my age, how old will I be by that time? Right? If I have to add 40 years to the age of our president, how old will he be by the time? So I'm just hoping that, just to say this here, hoping that we have young minds in that space, in the negotiation room, discussing these things in great details. If we have to pay back a loan of about over $2 billion in 40 years, then we need to have young people in the room. And I will get to the point on the show where I will tell you how that the total money we owe the World Bank is over $4 billion. I'll get to that on the show. Now, this money just received by the World Bank will attract a 1% increase, a 1% interest rate, and which is quite fair. A 1% interest rate. Now, if you break the package of $2.25 billion into two parts, $1.5 billion there of the loan is to be used for the Nigerian reforms for economic stabilization to enable transformation development policy financing program. And the $750 million is for the Nigerian Accelerating Resource Mobilization Reforms program for result. Now it sounds like big English, but what we're saying is that at the time the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, the CBN Governor, Mr. Yemi Cardoso, were asking for the money, they told the World Bank specifically what the money will be used for. So to make that even clear, $1.5 billion of the loan will help protect millions who have faced growing poverty since a year ago when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came to power and took drastic steps to fix the country's non-performing economy, right? I think it was 2 episodes ago where I shared about the Bloomberg report about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu 1 year in office, stating that, yes, it was on starvation wage, stating that Nigerians are going through a period that they have never gone through before. It was starvation wage. The link to that starvation wage is in the comments right now. So you could check that out to hear some of the things I shared with respect to starvation wage there. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, from the inauguration ceremony in Abuja, declared an end to the decade-long but costly fuel subsidies there. He also unified the multi-exchange rate through the Central Bank of Nigeria. This brought with it surging inflation that hit 28-year high, okay? So immediately after the announcement, what happened afterwards was that there was inflation on a different level. And since that time, we haven't recovered from that, although it looks to be slowing down a bit, but we are pretty much not over that yet. The remaining $750 million will support tax reforms, revenue, and safeguard oil resources with limited production cost by chronic theft. The government intends to do that through the principal program development objective, which will enhance non-oil revenues and in many ways protect oil and gas revenues from 2024 to 2028 at the federal level, focusing on significant tax, excise duty, administrative reform. So before you get money from the World Bank, you need to tell them what you want to use the money for. And these are the things the government told the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund at the time they were asking for a loan in the tone of $2.28 billion from the World Bank there. Now, this is not the first time the World Bank has approved Nigeria's loan request. I mean, we are one of the favored African nations with the World Bank. We're one of the favored African nations with the World Bank because in 2023 alone, the World Bank passed 6 loans for Nigeria, 6 good loans for Nigeria, loan for power of about $750 million, loan for women empowerment of around $500 million, loan for girls' education of about $700 million, loan for renewable energy of about $750 million, loan for economic stabilization reforms of about $1.5 billion, and loan resource mobilization reforms of around $750 million. Now, in total, since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu got into office, just a year and a month, he has secured around $4.95 billion. I really don't know how much we would be owing the World Bank by the time he's about to leave office. But this time, he has borrowed $4.95 billion in loans from the World Bank amidst concerns over the country's rising external debt servicing cost. So the good thing about the loan Nigeria just received, is that the interest rate is not a lot. It's 1%. All right. So we can already tell, we can say, okay, fine. Thankfully, we may not have so much burdens on us. And the government may be looking towards issuing Eurobonds, like we said on the show a while. This high debt burden will already limit how much money the government can spend from its earnings. So pretty much that the government will be very careful as to how much money it will be able to spend in the coming days. It's expected that the impact of this new secured loan should be felt and should fulfill the goal of softening the impact of the policies, removal of fuel subsidy, unification of the exchange rate, being implemented by the federal government of Nigeria and also the Central Bank of Nigeria. On the show today, I have spoken about inflation, the inflation report for the month of May 2024. I have also given you some gist with respect to the DSTV and Tribunal Saga, and I mentioned to you as well the details of the loan gotten by the World Bank, by Nigeria from the World Bank. Now, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining today. Do have to follow us on all our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and even Twitter there. My name is Uluwa Kalumi Awe. See you on the next one.